New footage has surfaced of NBA Youngboy, and it's got the whole internet losing its mind. The clip appears to show YB popping Lil Tim mid-performance after a fan tossed something on stage, yes. That Lil Tim, the one forever linked to the tragic King Von incident. And now, everybody's wondering, did YB just snap in the heat of the moment? Or did he just sun his own shooter in front of the whole world? Let's break this down. The moment started like every viral meltdown. Shaky phone video, the crowd screaming, and NBA Youngboy standing right in the center of the chaos. But this time, people swear they witnessed something different, something wild. Viewers claim YB reached over and smacked Lil Tim. Lil Tim, a man hailed as a hero by Quando Rondo's camp, and a villain by King Von's supporters. Within minutes, that clip didn't just spread, it erupted across social media. Comments blew up instantly. No way YB just checked his own shooter. Others said the video was fake. But what made this moment explosive wasn't the slap. It was who it supposedly happened to, because Lil Tim isn't just another name. He's tied to one of the most controversial nights in modern hip-hop history. Some people online called it karma. But anyone who understands the politics behind this situation knew there was a deeper story brewing. For the first time in years, the internet started asking a dangerous question. What's really happening between NBA Youngboy and Lil Tim? Because if that footage is real, that wasn't just disrespect. That was dominance. That was YB reminding everyone that no matter who fired the shots that night in Atlanta, he controls the narrative now, and that's exactly why the story exploded. The tension between Youngboy's circle and the legacy of King Von didn't start yesterday. It's been simmering ever since the 2020 altercation that left Von dead. The moment that turned Lil Tim from an unknown figure into one of the most controversial names in Chicago's entire rap scene. According to Lil Tim himself, that night was nothing but pure chaos and confusion.
Well, you pull out and you shoot 4 times.
Yeah, the gun jam.
That single gun jam might have been the split second that decided who lived and who didn't. In an instant, shots ripped through the air, police fired back, and Lil Tim was hit twice. Once in the hip, once in the back. Even while bleeding out, he claimed he stayed locked in, focused, and ice cold through the chaos. And if you think that moment was wild, you haven't heard the rest of what went down that night.
I knew, do the same thing, stay calm and just make sure I get to the hospital.
That steady composure would become part of his identity later on because after Von's death, everything went silent until NBA Youngboy finally spoke up. YB had been locked up, battling his own inner struggles while refusing to fold under industry pressure. That confidence, that quiet refusal to conform, is what shaped Youngboy's entire persona. He never relied on labels, never chased validation. But once he came home, something was different. He wasn't just furious, he was strategic. Every lyric, every shot he took, every post he made felt intentional, almost like each one carried a coded warning. So when he and Quando Rondo released their joint project 3860, fans immediately sensed it wasn't just music. It was a response carved out of raw emotion. On one of the tracks, Quando practically revisits the night Von was killed, and in doing so, puts Lil Tim on a pedestal.
Then I'll be damned, it really happened. Our rapper got killed. It broke my heart seeing my N-word get hit up with that steel.
But beneath the surface, a more sinister tension was building. According to reports, Youngboy didn't actually want to release 3860. In a Vlad TV interview, Lil Tim revealed that Quando Rondo had to convince him to go ahead. YB apparently favored holding off, possibly even putting distance between himself and the project.
Yeah, it's he ain't want to just say, I don't know 100% everything, but I know he wasn't saying he didn't want to just drop the tape, I don't want to drop this with you. He was saying let's wait.
That line hits completely differently now that this new footage has appeared. Footage that allegedly shows YB striking the same man who once played a major role in shaping his reputation during one of rap's most divisive conflicts. So the real question is, what shifted? Social media has been running wild with theories faster than a DJ spinning in Baton Rouge. Some people believe Youngboy finally reached his limit, that after King Von's camp, and Lil Durk in particular, kept sending shots, YB's paranoia and frustration reached a breaking point. It brings back memories of the moment Youngboy went on live stream saying,
You dropping the tape at 12. Die out. Shit, just tell a nigga catch up with me.
that moment wasn't some random outburst. It was a straight-up declaration of war. And Lil Durk wasted no time responding with the line, Your homies die and you never slide. It ain't adding up. A bar that instantly reignited the tension. Now picture the situation. YB sitting at the top of the rap world while Durk keeps throwing lyrical jabs, fans online treating body counts like they're comparing championship rings, and standing right next to Youngboy is Lil Tim. The man many believe sparked everything to the average fan, that looks like loyalty. But to someone like Youngboy, whose entire image is built on control, fearlessness, and power, loyalty can start to resemble a risk real fast. Then the slap happens. Not a fight, not chaos. What convinced people it might be real was how YB carried himself. Steady, cold, almost like a boss putting someone in their place. No shouting. Just one sharp gesture that felt like it said, remember who keeps you fed. Immediately, people connected it back to things YB has said in older clips, about avoiding jail at all costs, about staying untouchable, about protecting his position. That's the paradox with Youngboy. He claims he prefers isolation, yet he's constantly surrounded by loyal foot soldiers. He says he doesn't care about the industry, yet everything he releases shakes the entire landscape. And if the footage truly is authentic, then this moment was him making his stance clear. He may have depended on Lil Tim in 2020, but in 2025, it's Lil Tim who depends on him. Back in that Vlad TV interview, Lil Tim talked about the first conversation he had with Youngboy after he bonded out of jail.
And he was just saying like the same thing everybody else saying, like, don't worry about it, what the industry's saying, bro, you ain't did nothing wrong.
People noticed a shift the moment the camera caught YB years later. His whole presence felt different. He wasn't that young kid preaching loyalty anymore. He was a man sitting on a throne built through pain and sacrifice. And everyone understands this unspoken truth. When an empire is built on violence, eventually that energy circles back. The alleged slap might be the moment where everything comes full circle. To casual viewers, it probably looks like just another viral clip from a rapper known for chaos. But to those who followed this storyline, from King Von's final moments, to the 3860 era, to this leaked footage, it feels more like a statement. Because behind every clip that goes viral, there's a chain of command. And in Youngboy's world, hierarchy is survival. This isn't the same YB from the 38 Baby days. This is someone who's done time, seen people switch up, watched trust erode, and buried more than a few friends. A man who learned the hard way that fear often takes you farther than admiration ever will. And after years of being portrayed as hip-hop's main antagonist, YB seems to be embracing that role outright. What looks like disrespect to outsiders might be discipline in his eyes. And that's why this footage hit harder than any diss track. Because if the person who stood beside you when the world labeled you a killer is suddenly being checked publicly, it signals one thing: something major is shifting. When loyalty begins to fracture, the internet never sleeps. And neither do the rumors. The moment that clip surfaced, TikTok, X, and every reaction channel pounced on it instantly. Screenshots everywhere. People zooming in, slowing it down frame by frame, like they were studying the Zapruder film. But beneath all that noise was a question nobody wanted to say out loud. Did NBA Youngboy really put his own shooter in check? That idea alone is hard for the streets to digest. Because if it's true, it flips the entire power dynamic. For years, Lil Tim was viewed as the unwavering soldier, the one who took the heat so YB's empire wouldn't collapse, the man who didn't break. The guy whose split-second decision in a parking lot became rap folklore. But when the leader checks the soldier, even in a symbolic way, the boundaries of loyalty get redrawn. Let's take it back for a moment. After King Von's death, Lil Tim wasn't just laying low, he was recovering. He'd been shot twice, questioned relentlessly, and thrown into one of the most controversial legal situations the rap world has ever seen. And while he was out on bond, Quando Rondo and Youngboy acted as his protection. In that Vlad TV interview, Tim described what it felt like to have his name carried through music, almost immortalized.
I look at it like some folks giving me my flowers or some folks showing respect.
That recognition meant everything to him, at least until this new clip surfaced. Because suddenly, the respect he believed he'd earned seemed like it had been taken away, and the underlying tension had clearly been building for a while. Even before this footage leaked, people in the industry were already murmuring that YB was distancing himself from 3860. And according to Tim's own words, it wasn't Youngboy pushing for that project at all. It was Quando.
Yeah, it's like he ain't want to just say I don't know like 100% everything, but I know he wasn't saying like he didn't want to just drop the tape like I don't want to drop this with you. He was saying like let's wait.
He was basically saying let's hold off. And in the world of rap beef, waiting looks a lot like doubt, and doubt quickly turns into suspicion. Some fans believe YB didn't want to reignite anything connected to the Vaughn situation because it boxed him in. At that point, it wasn't just Dirk throwing subliminals law enforcement. Labels and the media were monitoring everything. Every diss, every line, every live stream suddenly looked like potential evidence. Even 100K Track King Von's manager commented on the aftermath when YB released Bring the Hook, saying the culture was losing its soul. That hits even harder when you consider how much violence has already happened and how much money the industry has made from it. But back to YB. Control is what he moves on. You can hear it in his voice and see it in the way he stares into the camera, almost like he's challenging the entire world whenever he drops something new.
He's dropping a tape at 12.
He built his whole brand on a mix of fear and respect. The two things rappers either die for or lose everything trying to maintain. So if he did lay a hand on Tim, even in a minimal way, it likely wasn't about rage, it was calculated. A reminder to everyone around him that nobody in his circle is above being checked. The fan response split the internet straight down the middle. One side argued YB crossed a line, that you never disrespect the man who once stood in the line of fire for your team. The other side claimed it was overdue, saying Youngboy had been carrying too much dead weight, and this was simply him tightening his inner circle. Some even went as far as calling it a power reset, suggesting YB was cutting loose any weak links before they became liabilities. Because here's the reality. The same street code that made Lil Tim an asset also made him unpredictable. You can't fully control someone who's already shown he'll react first and think later. You can't box in a man who stared down death and didn't blink, and Youngboy knows better than most how easily loyalty can shift into leverage. Meanwhile, Quando Rondo's name started circulating again. He's the tie between both men, Youngboy's protege and practically a brother to Tim. That's a tough position when two of the most polarizing figures in rap might not be aligned. Fans quickly noticed his silence. No posts backing Tim. No interviews shutting down the rumors. And in this world, silence speaks loudly. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's a strategy, and sometimes it signals a situation that's too complicated to explain publicly. People familiar with what's been going on claim the tension didn't start with a leaked clip. After the 3,860 rollout, the tour meant to unite YB, Quando, and Tim never even materialized.
Well, Quando, Rondo, and NBA Youngboy actually announced a tour. First stop was supposed to be Chicago, but ultimately that tour never happened.
When the interviewer pressed him, asking whether it was just trolling or meant seriously, Tim responded cautiously.
I believe it really supposed to be on tour, but I know I was on house arrest, so I was like, damn, I know I'm probably not gonna be able to go.
That hesitation, saying he probably wasn't going to be able to go, might have been the quiet breaking point. When money and opportunity are on the line, any delay can shift the balance within a crew. Suddenly, YB isn't just thinking about loyalty, he's thinking about liability, optics, and business. By early 2025, Youngboy's career was cleaner than ever, at least on paper. He was back on streaming platforms, his label working harder than ever, and he had become a walking paradox. One of the most controversial figures in rap, yet still able to pull massive, family-friendly numbers online. Meanwhile, Lil Tim's profile had faded. No major interviews, no features, just quiet, until this footage appeared. Now the man who had nearly disappeared was back in the headlines, and for all the wrong reasons, social media erupted. Fans analyzed everything, from YB's posture to the chain Tim wore. Some claimed it wasn't a slap at all, just a light tap or a playful gesture taken out of context. Others were convinced the tension was real, pointing to YB's history of cutting ties quickly when people crossed him. Anyone who's followed Youngboy long enough knows this is part of his survival strategy. He's cut blood relatives, longtime collaborators, even childhood friends. So if Tim overstepped, it wouldn't be shocking for YB to remind him who calls the shots. The real question is, what comes next? The clip might just be the spark. Fans have noticed a change in YB's recent lyrics. Less about the streets, more about detachment, almost like he's done cleaning up other people's messes. If this slap was truly about power, it could signal the end of the YB Quando Tim triangle that has defined so much of modern street rap. Because when a boss publicly checks his own soldier, it isn't just control, it's a statement. And in hip-hop, statements like this don't go unnoticed. The fans are watching, the industry is watching. Somewhere Lil Durk is probably smirking, because the one thing he couldn't do, break YB's circle, might have happened from the inside. It all started with shaky footage, blurry, muffled, a hand flashing across the frame. At first, no one knew what they were seeing. Then for a split second, the image stabilized. NBA Youngboy stood in a crowded studio hallway, facing Lil Tim. The man linked